when we say that somebody dies, we say he has passed. So passed away means somewhere he must have been gone. But who has gone? You know, there has to be a person who has gone. The body is lying there. So means all of us have to understand the spirit soul is there. Even you know, so even the people who maybe not be devotees, but still they have that intuitive understanding. Now it's done. So mute. Okay. So Supreme Lord. So that's what we discussed. Now the verse number 4. Yeah, please recite.
आदिभूतं क्षरो भावः
अधिभूतं क्षरो भावः
पुरुषश्चादिदैवतम्
पुरुषश्चादिदैवतम्
अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
अधियज्ञोऽहमेवात्र
देहे देहावृताम्बरा
देहे देहभृताम्बर.
O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature which is constantly changing is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adhidaiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as a super soul in the heart of every embodied being, am called as Adhiyajna, the Lord of sacrifice. The physical nature of is constantly changing. Material bodies generally pass through 6 stages. They are born, they grow, they remain for some duration, they produce some byproducts, they dwindle and they vanish. This physical nature is called Adibhuta. It is created at a certain point and will be annihilated at a certain point. The conception of the universal form of the Supreme Lord, which includes all the demigods and their different planets, is called Adi Daivata and present in the body along with the individual soul is the super soul, a plenary representation of Lord Krishna. The super soul is called Paramatma or Adi Yagya and is situated in the heart. The word Eva is particularly important in the context of this verse because by this word the Lord stresses that the Paramatma is not different from him. The super soul, the supreme personality of Godhead seated beside the individual soul, is the witness of the individual soul's activities and is the source of the soul's various types of consciousness. The super soul gives the individual soul an opportunity to act freely and witnesses his activities. The functions of all these different manifestations of Supreme Lord automatically becomes clarified for the pure Krishna conscious devotee engaged in transcendental service to the Lord. The gigantic universal form of the Lord, called Adi Daivata, is contemplated by the neophyte who cannot approach the Supreme Lord in his manifestation as Super Soul. The neophyte is
production of byproducts, dwindling, and death. These are the 6 changes. And these are the 6 changes which can distinguish between living entity and non-living entity. Because non-living entity doesn't undergo
production of
byproducts and growth. Like that. So that's why other 4 stages they have, but these 2 stages they don't have. So in this way, that is called as adhibhuta. So they are there for some time, but then ultimately they are annihilated. But that adhibhuta is also under Krishna's governance. What is adhidaiva? Adhidaiva is universal form of the Lord. Virat Rupa. Virat tasma virat jayata virajo adhipurusha sajato atyarichata paschat bhumi matoho puraha. So that's what is the description in Purush Sukta. So that universal form of the Lord means it includes everything. We don't have second canto here, but there is second canto. If you take small one, second canto it is written also. But if you see the picture, there is Krishna is shown with so many demigods are there faces, right? So that is one form of Virat Rupa, in which we will see that. So Virat Rupa includes everything. He is like the Virat Purusha is the like universe being the body of the Lord itself. Universe itself being the body of the Lord. That is also called as Virat Rupa.
This one.
Not that one. There are different Virat Rupas. This is the one which he showed to Arjuna. But what he showed to Duryodhana is another one, wherein there are so many demigods.
This one. Shiva, Ganesha.
Yeah, that's that one. But this is not ISKCON. Anyways, so basically this Virat Rupa in second canto was chapter 1 number 1. Prabhupada writes that this Virat Rupa, universal form of the Lord, it includes all the demigods and all other living entities also. So in this way, even the minutest living entities within the Lord, and it is controlled fully by the Lord, and all the demigods are also included in it. So that's why there is no use of worshipping demigods. Just like if one waters the root of the tree, then when all other things are automatically nourished. Similarly, if one just worships Virat Rupa of the Lord, all other demigods are also appeased. And in this way, one doesn't have to separately worship. That's what Prabhupada writes in second canto, first chapter, verse number 29 purport. So, and then what is Adhiyajna? Adhiyajna is that Adhiyajna is Supreme Lord, is Yajneshwara, enjoyer of all sacrifices. So, and what he is present with all the living entities as Paramatma, like that. So, this Paramatma is the plenary representation of Krishna, and he is called as Adhiyajna. So, actually speaking, that's why even if we are performing any worship to demigods or performing any sacrifices for demigods, it is also worship of Krishna only, because they cannot independently do anything. So that's why there is one verse in the Vedas: Akashat patitanto yam yatha gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskaram keshavam pratigacchati. You heard? So he's saying Akashat patitanto yam yatha gacchati. Whatever water falls from the sky, ultimately it goes to ocean. Similarly, Sarva Deva Namaskaram, you worship any demigod, ultimately it goes to Krishna only, Keshavam Pratigacchati. So then what is the problem with demigod worship?
The results are temporary.
No, but it is ultimately going to Krishna in that terms.
So you only worship a part of the full devotion.
Okay, we are worshipping only the part.
And it is not independent. So, demigods themselves tell you.
Okay, demigods themselves tell. What Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita about
Less intelligent.
less intelligent also, and Krishna also will tell this verse will come ahead that if you worship any demigods, actually you are worshipping me only ultimately. But how it is? It is avidhi purvakam. Krishna says it is improper worship of the Lord. You know, just like somebody says that you may give food in the hand also. They say they are a food in Korea, you know, but that's not the way of putting the food. The food has to be put in the mouth, in the stomach, right? One may say so. In this way, demigods are all the bodily parts of the body of Virat Rupa only. But that doesn't mean that one can feed from any part, right? So that's a avidhi purvakam. You know, what is the right method of putting food? Put in the mouth, not that we put in the nose or ears or eyes. When we say these are also holes, these are also outlets of the body. You know, so we can put in that also. No. So there is a proper vidhi. Same way. So as such, and also it is written that Keshavam Pati Achite means it is meant for Keshav. It is not that it is meant for Brahman. So that way, that's an indirect worship of Krishna.
In Yajna, we put it in fire, so that is Agni, give laid aside mouth of Lord. But we are offering it to fire.
Yeah, Agni is basically the courier agent.
So similarly, other demigods are also like courier?
No. Agni is courier only.
Only Agni.
He is like, he delivers. Agni, we put for Vishnu also, one can put in Agni for Surya also, for Chandra also, for Shiva also. Anybody you put for, Agni delivers to that particular person. So you put for Supreme Lord, he will go to give to Supreme Lord. If you go put for Shiva, he will go to Shiva. If you put for Indra, it will go to Indra. So Agni has got that authorized agent to give to all the demigods, whatever, collect from all the living entities and give to respective. So, so in this way, but if one somehow worships Krishna, who is the governing principles of all these things, then one can know him even at the time of death. So one has to understand that Krishna is the governing principles of Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, everything, and that's how one can remember him even at the time of death. So in the purport, Prabhupada is telling that Adhibhuta is constantly changing physical nature, which manifests 6 changes. Adhidaiva is the universal form. So universal form is worshipped by neophytes. Prabhupada is writing. Who are these neophytes? Impersonalists who have understood that impersonal realization is incomplete, and now they are tending towards personal realization. But personal realization is very difficult to conceive for them, because the understanding of absolute truth means it should be all pervading. If it is not all pervading, then they cannot understand that to be absolute truth, right? So when they say all pervading, everywhere present, and if you say no, he's just a one person who is walking in Vrindavan, it becomes very difficult for them to understand. So that's why they first worship Virat Purusha, who is present also everywhere, but is a person. That's the difference. Brahman is present everywhere, but it is impersonal. Virat Purusha also is present everywhere. Sarvata Padi Padastam, Sarvatakshi Shuromukam, Sarvata Shrutimal Loki, it will come in universal form. Arjun will say that. Everywhere are his hands, everywhere are his legs, everywhere are his eyes, everywhere is neck. So उससे पता चल जाता है कि he is everywhere basically. So that they like, yeah, this is something good. Means it matches with what we understand as absolute truth. But then the addition is that they understand no, it is not a light, it is a person. So there is such a great person who is everywhere. That concept they can accept, and they are the neophytes on the path of bhakti. अभी चालू हो गया उनको थोड़ा कुछ, because personal concept has come at least like that. So that's why it is worshipped by neophytes, and then eventually, of course, they will come as super soul and all that. So then in second canto, that's why you see second canto, third canto, and which else? I think 3 to 4 times. I think fourth canto again there is a Again and again description of Virat Roop is there. Because most of the people in this world are impersonalist. So that's why again and again Virat Roop is, if you put this no the tishchat tada Virat, you know, so वो verses say itna so much, you know, is there creation, and that Virat Roop is described again and again, again and again. It is described. So the purpose is that only, so that people can understand. So two things: the impersonalist understand the personal form of the Lord, which is unlimited. Although it is personal, but it is unlimited. Because light we can conceive as unlimited. Person to be unlimited is inconceivable, right? Light unlimited, it is spread everywhere. But when you say that person is only unlimited, means what? सब जगह पे ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है? They cannot understand. So through Virat Roop they can understand. And atheistic people also understand that, oh, this Krishna whom we are saying is not an ordinary person. God is the Virat. He is the greatest and he is supreme personality. He is present everywhere. So in this way, to teach both of them, these two classes are very prominently found in the material world, and that's why again and again this comes in Bhagavatam. So then that's how there are a lot of description. Bhutpado yasya nabir vihavasav surya chandram shanetre karnavasham chirodyo mukamapi yasya atme mahadhi antastham yasya vishwam surak narak khaga gandharvanetrair karnavasham chirodyo mukamapi yasya atme mahadhi. No, okay, whatever. This is before Vishnu Sahasranam. So the also there is, you know, Padbhyam Bhumi Shotrate Purusupta also it comes. So legs are the lower planets, and what is middle planets are the navel of the Lord, and upper portion is the upper planetary systems, and head is Brahmaloka, and Sun and Moon are the eyes of the Lord, like that. Yachakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahana. So in this way, Adhidaiva, universal form, is described. And what is Adhiyajna? Adhiyajna is actually super soul, who is the witness of the soul's activities and is the source of all various types of consciousness. Consciousness comes from super soul. Individual soul also has consciousness because of super soul. So, and also super soul gives free independence. And the word Prabhupada says that Eva stresses that Paramatma is not different than Supreme Lord Krishna himself. So the same Paramatma who is present everywhere was present in front of Krishna personally. So this is how, you know, is the inconceivable form of the Lord. So we cannot be like that. If we are here, we cannot be at other place. Right? But Lord can be like that. Lord is one place, another place, 100 places also. So one of the Mayavadi concept is what? Now because God is present everywhere, he has lost his individual existence. You know, because he has manifested himself into so many Paramatmas, so now he has no personal existence. Just like, you know, you take a paper, you tear it into various parts, and then the original paper has no existence. Then is it like that, Lord? This is material thing. Spiritual, Prabhupada used to say 1 plus 1 is equal to 1. 1 minus 1 is equal to 1 also.
One candle.
Yeah, one candle, other candles. Shidam, like Deeparchire, that is about Vishnu. Yeah, different this thing. And also Purna. Just like the mother may give birth to 10 children also, that doesn't mean that mother is dead now because so many children have come. You know, mother also remains, children also remain, right? And they also grow. And they may grow as same as height as mother also. That not that they, because children have come, mother has no existence now anymore. So it's that way. So that's why he is the same person, you know, present in front of Arjun, is also present in each and everybody's heart as Paramatma. That's the meaning of word Eva. And the one who understands these functions of all this manifestation, he can become pure Krishna conscious devotee. So actually, that's why being a devotee means, all these concepts devotee understands, and it helps him to become Krishna conscious. Because otherwise, one may remain a very sentimental devotee. That Bhagwan Krishna अच्छे हैं हमारे लाला, this thing. No, one has to have this knowledge of what is Lord. First of all, we should know what is God. Then we can know who is God. And then we can actually be devotee of God. If he doesn't know what is God, then we may accept anybody as God. Example Prabhupada used to give that if you are going to market to purchase gold, you should know first of all what is gold. If you don't know what is gold, then you may take any. Suppose somebody tells you what is, if you ask what is gold is yellow. Okay, you may go to market. One may go to market and purchase anything, imitation also. You may think that this is gold because ultimately it's gold. It is yellow, which shines. But so many yellow things are there which are shining. That doesn't mean that it becomes gold. So in this way, one may be cheated. So first of all, that's why one should know what is God. Then one can understand who is God. Then one has to taste who is God. And then one can be devote himself to God. So that's why this knowledge which is being discussed is very important in order for us to understand what is God. And then it will come how Krishna is the same God. So God is the one who is the controller of material energy also. God is the one who is this thing, creator. God is the one who is master of even living all the living entities, and he is situated as Paramatma in the heart of each living. He is spread all over the universe. So when we know this, then we will not be sentimental in considering any Chintu Pintu person as God. Not that any person comes and he claims is God. You can ask him, are you present everywhere? Are you present in everybody's heart as Paramatma? You can ask that person. So because of not having such proper knowledge, and especially Kali Yuga, people are so lazy about knowledge. They don't want to know this knowledge. They are very interested in avidya, but they are not interested in real knowledge. And that's why they are fooled by so many babas and yogis and all that. And one way, the religionists are fooled by bogus incarnations, and irreligionists are fooled by another incarnation. They are called as scientists, because they are scientists also as God. People may not say scientist as God, but they almost treat them like that. Who are fooling people. So that's why one has to know what is God actually. So that's the whole section. That's why it's coming for that. So this ends the fourth section of first section of the 8th chapter, consisting of these 4 verses, the questions by Arjun and answers. Now the second section from 8.5 to 8.8. Yeah, remembering Krishna at the time of death. That will be discussed now. Universal form and Virat Purusha is the same. Yeah. What did Arjun see? Yeah, there are different types of Vishwarup, Virat form or Vishwarup. There are different ways Krishna showed. Once Krishna showed what Krishna showed to Arjun was that how he is situated everywhere. What he showed to Duryodhan was how he is the source of all living entities, especially of demigods also. Like that. Is Artha live? So that's why Virat form is basically the form of the Lord being universe's body, having a universe as the body of the Lord. But it's an imaginary form, one sense you can say. Prabhupada says so. Is Earth a lower planet? No, middle planet. Which planet Lord Brahma resides? Satyaloka. 14 planetary systems. So Earth is Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Janaloka, Mahaloka, Tapoloka, and then Vittal also is there. Rasadal and Patal. These are all 7 planets down. Okay. Yeah. So now, please recite this 5th verse. So the second section is called as remembering Krishna at the time of death. So to attain Krishna, one has to remember him at the time of death. So, and this remembrance is not some automatic. It is not mental trick. One cannot say, okay, yes, I'm supposed to simply remember Krishna at the time of death. I can short myself. I can say Hare Krishna when I'm going. I shoot myself. And this way I'll go back to God. It's not a mental trick, you know. So that's why the words will be used as bhava. Bhava means consciousness or proper mood. So then, but if one cultivates that proper consciousness or mood, then one can remember Krishna at the time of death. And what is the best way of cultivating that bhava? That is through chanting the holy names of the Lord. Harinam Sankirtan leads to that bhava for the Lord. Yeah, so fifth verse.
Antakale cha mamev
Antakale cha mamev
smaran mukva kalevaram
smaran muktva kalevaram
ya prayati samadbhavam
yaprayati samadbhavam
yati nastya atra samshaya.
yati nastayatri samshayah.
Translation. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Further, in this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body in Krishna consciousness is at once transferred to the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure. Therefore, anyone who is constantly Krishna conscious is also the purest of the pure. The word smaran, remembering, is important. Remembrance of Krishna is not possible for the impure soul who has not practiced Krishna consciousness in devotional service. Therefore, one should practice Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. If one wants to achieve success at the end of his life, the process of remembering Krishna is essential. Therefore, one should constantly, incessantly chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Lord Chaitanya has advised that one has to be tolerant as a tree. Taro Rabi Sahishra. There may be so many impediments for a person who is chanting Hare Krishna. Nonetheless, tolerating all these impediments, one should continue to chant Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So that at the end of one's life, one can have the full benefit of Krishna consciousness. Okay.
I can share the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, you're able to see, na? So this is Adhibhuta, which is ever-changing material manifestation. So we see how the body changes, right? So that's what is Adhibhuta, always changing material body, everything which is changing, material, everything changing, the material world. You take an apple, that also happens, same thing. First it is green, becomes red, then it becomes brown, then it starts decomposing, like that. And this is the Virat root of the Lord, which I was mentioning. You see, there are all the demigods are there in line. So many demigods are there around. Right. And this is planetary systems. So lowest one is Patal, which is the bottom of the feet of the Lord. Rasatal, heels and toes. Mahatal, ankles. Talatal, shanks. Sutal, knees. Vital, lower parts of thighs. Atal, upper parts of thighs. Mahatal, earth, hips. Bhuvar Loka, Mahital, this is not Mahatal. Mahatal ho gaya. Or then say Earth, Bhurloka is hips. Bhuvarloka is navel, the Lord. Swargaloka is chest. Maharloka is neck. Janaloka is mouth or face. Tapoloka is forehead. And Satyaloka is the head. That's a universal form. Virat Rupa. And Paramatma is the Adhiyajna, super soul.
We say Virat Krishna is manifesting everywhere. So it's like only the 14 planetary systems. What about the other space and if there is one diagram, big universe diagram.
It's Vishwarup. Yeah, Virat Krishna. You mentioned Virat Krishna.
There is a Virat Rup is this one, what I just now told. But Vishwarup is universal form of the Lord. Where is this thing? But these two terms are sometimes interchangeably used also. Virat Rup is also called as Vishwarup of the Lord. Wherein everywhere are his eyes and legs and this thing. Sun and moon. Yeah. So both are there. More detail than this, I am also not so clear about. Is there really a difference between Virat Rup and Vishwarup of the Lord? But this much is very sure that Krishna showed different forms at different times. Because to Arjun, he is telling that this is first time I am shown to anybody this Rupa. Although he had shown to Duryodhan before, but still he is telling I am first time showing. Because that was different one. That was this one which I showed just now. That's what was shown to Duryodhan. Like that. So, but yeah, he's everywhere as such. That is also Vishwarup of the Lord. In one of the Bhagavad thing, our Bhaktivedanta Vidyapit people also told once, as far as I remember, that Virat Rupa and Vishwarupa are little different. But in my readings, at least, I have seen that many times that these terms are used for each other also. So I am not 100% clear about it. Maybe in Gauranga Darshan to ask. Yeah, and this is Adhiyajna, that is Supreme Lord. And we first saw the process yesterday. Okay. So now this particular verse, Krishna is telling how to remember him at the time of death. Whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, Krishna is saying, is remembering Krishna alone. That person can go out of the cycle of birth and death, and he will attain Krishna's nature. What is Krishna's nature? When he at once attains my nature, means what? What is Krishna's nature? Satchidananda, spiritual. So one also goes to spiritual place, like that.
Jiva is anyway Satchidananda.
But he attaining means what? He's reviving it. Attaining and reviving. In that sense. Currently is in fully Asat Achit Nirananda form. Right? So Prabhupada is saying that this verse stresses the importance of Krishna consciousness. Whoever remembers the Supreme Lord at the point of death will attain the supreme destination. That is my nature. So Prabhupada is telling in the purport, Krishna consciousness means being purest of the pure. So Krishna consciousness is supremely pure. Usually in this world, mode of goodness is considered to be pure, right? Mode of passion and ignorance are considered to be contamination. But then Krishna consciousness is not just pure, it is the purest of pure because it is even pure mode of goodness. Because even mode of goodness is a little contaminated. That's why there is a Vishuddha Sattva and Sattva. There is a difference between these two. The material goodness is always tinged with some passion and ignorance. That's why it is not Shuddha. But the pure goodness means on a spiritual platform. The goodness on the spiritual platform is pure. It is not contaminated with passion and ignorance. That's why it is called a Vishuddha Sattva. Vishishta Rupena Sattva. Like that. So that's how Krishna consciousness is not on a material platform, it is on a spiritual platform. It is even beyond goodness also. And that's why it is purest of the pure. And then Smaran. Smaran means remembrance for purposes. But that remembrance, in order to attain purest of the pure, what one has to be? Yeah, one himself has to be pure also, fully. Impure soul cannot get the remembrance of the Lord. That is not possible. Only the pure soul can get remembrance of the Lord. So that's why in order to approach pure, one has to be pure also, himself. Like that. So just like there is some rich people's parties there, the beggar cannot go and sit in the rich people's party. Right? He also has to be rich in order to participate into, this thing party. Okay. That's the way it is, no? Always. So same way, if all the presidents of all these nations are coming, the Chaprasi cannot go and sit in the meeting. He also has to be one president. Similarly, if one has to approach Krishna, one has to also be pure. If one wants to go to spiritual world, one has to be also completely pure. Like that. So how do we purify ourselves now? Now currently we are impure. So is it that we have no hope in our life? We can never approach Krishna. Is it like that? No, we can purify ourselves by practicing remembrance of the Lord. So generally remembrance is not possible for impure soul, but Prabhupada is saying that still we should try to practice remembrance. So is it not contradictory? One place Prabhupada is saying, just one statement before Prabhupada is saying that remembrance is not possible. Krishna's remembrance is not possible for impure soul. But Prabhupada said, still one can attain Krishna by remembering. If you are impure, then how will you remember?
If you remember, you become pure.
But if you are not pure, how will you remember? First egg or first chicken? What comes first? Murgi hai pehle ki egg is there first. So it is meaning that the spontaneous remembrance is not possible for impure soul. That's why he has to practice it. But for a pure soul, he spontaneously, naturally remembers Krishna. But those who are not pure souls, they have to practice it. Practice it means what? It is not automatically coming to them. That's the point. That is not automatic for them. It is like, they have to, make it purposeful attempt. They have to endeavor for it. And that's how one can purify. So that's why Prabhupada says that we should practice remembrance, although it is not coming spontaneously. So that's why there are so many methodologies of remembering Krishna. Right? One of the days we are discussing about that. Right? One can see the deity form of the Lord, one can chant holy names, one can read Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, do seva for the Lord. So there are so many ways by which one can cultivate remembrance of the Lord. Best way being chanting of the holy names. That's why 2 times in this purport, Prabhupada is telling, chant the holy names. 2 times Prabhupada is mentioning full Mahamantra. Like that. So how to practice remembrance? So Prabhupada is given very nice, everything is given here. So unless until one practices this, one cannot remember Krishna at the time of death. So it is again not the trick of the mind. We cannot just say that this pura zindagi bhar paap karma karenge, at last I will remember Krishna. That never happens. That's not possible. Even Ajamil remembering Krishna, Narayan at the time of death was because of because before picking to sinful life he was devotee of the Lord. That helped him to remember Lord Narayan at the time of death. Otherwise he could not have remembered. So that's why the practice has to be there. So then one may ask, then how should I practice remembrance at the time of death? So by living in mode of goodness, by life dedicated to service of Krishna and always thinking of Krishna, and then chanting of the holy names always. So 3 times Prabhupada is mentioning, 2 times in this, and next verse also Prabhupada is again mentioning Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So the best way, that's how the remembrance of Krishna is to chant the holy names of the Lord. And third thing, the last thing Prabhupada is saying is that one has to tolerate also all the impediments like so these are the four things to do in order to practice remembrance. First one, cultivate the mode of goodness. Second one, uh, render some service to the Lord. Always engage into the service of the Lord. Then third thing, chanting, incessant chanting. And fourth thing, tolerate the impediments, difficulties, and all that. Okay. So Radheshampur has given some video, it seems. Yeah. So I'll share with you. Share.
It's coming. Optimal.
Okay.
So, what's through this door? Where do we go? Is it nothing?
इसके बाद डेथ क्या है किधर इसके अंदर क्या है इज देयर नथिंग so so for devotees there is beyond that door is spiritual world. It's entry into the spiritual world. How? Yeah. Now you can hear me? Huh? Huh. Okay. So this is a very important phenomenon of this verse, which is telling that whatever one remembers, antakale cha mameva swaram muktva kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam. So he's telling this is a very important formula. One who remembers Krishna at the time of death, so he can remember Krishna automatically. He can go to Krishna automatically. So that's the very important formula. So how that verse begins? Ante Narayana Smriti. How the verse begins? एतावान् सांख्ययोगानां सर्वधर्म परिनिष्ठया जन्म लाभ पर पुंसा अन्ते नारायण स्मृतिः. What it is? First canto, second chapter.
6:216.
Second canto, first chapter, sixth verse. What is the translation?
The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of time.
Yeah. So this is the test. Bhajan kar le, sadhan karte, marte jaan le hari. Bengali say this there. So whatever one may do in one's life, the success of life means one should be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. That is the real success. That's what Krishna said. Okay, sixth verse.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Jatyante kalevaram.
Jajatyante kalevaram.
Tam tam ivaiti kaunteya.
Tam tamevaiti kaunteya.
Datat bhava bhavitaha.
Datat bhava bhavitaha.
Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. The process of changing one's nature at the critical moment of death is here explained. A person who, at the end of his life, quits his body thinking of Krishna attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. But it is not true that a person who thinks of something other than Krishna attains the same transcendental state. This is a point we should note very carefully. How can one die in the proper state of mind? Maharaj Bharat, although great personality, thought of a deer at the end of his life, and so in his next life he has transferred into the body of deer. Although as a deer he remembered his past activity, he had to accept that animal body. Of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life one lives in the mode of goodness and always think of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember Krishna at the end of one's life. That will help one be transferred to the transcendental nature of Krishna. If one is transcendentally absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, spiritual, not material. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare is the best process for successfully changing one state of being at the end of one's life.
Yes. So previous was described what happens if one remembers Krishna at the time of death. Now Krishna is telling generalized. Whatever a person remembers at the time of death, that state he has attained. So yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So sometimes people say Gandhi also chanted Ram at the time of death. Hey Ram, he chanted. So did he go to spiritual world? We don't know what was his bhavam. It has to be bhavam. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajatyante kaleva tam evaiti kamte sadatat bhava bhavitaha. So what is one's consciousness at the time of death? That is important thing. Not just what one chants. So, but certainly because he chanted Hey Ram at the time of death, he must have got a very good destiny, no doubt about it. So in this verse, 6th verse, Krishna is telling, like just previous verse he told, just by remembering Krishna, one attains Krishna. Similarly, by remembering something else, one attains that object at the time of death. So based on one's consciousness, one is awarded the next body. So we attain our next life based on the law of last thought or the law of last moment, right? What are we thinking in the last moment? So, and Prabhupada is giving the description of Bharat Maharaj. So, although he was such a great personality, very great devotee, but what happened at the time of death, whom he was conscious of? Deer. And then he also got the deer's body, right? So, although he was such a great devotee, but then one may say, तो अभी सारा भक्ति किया तो गया काम से सारा, and आप तो पहले बोले थे कि ह्यूमन लाइफ फिक्स्ड है करके, so what about that? So ये तो अन्याय हो गया भरत महाराज के साथ। अरे आप बोले एक बार प्रसाद खाया, चैंटिंग एक बार किया तो ह्यूमन फॉर्म मिलता है, ये तो दिन जिंदगी भर इतना भक्ति किया है, थोड़ा लास्ट में गलती कर दिया तो इतना गया उनका सब कुछ। हाँ, he was not an ordinary deer. He was a self-realized deer. And that's why he didn't want to associate with materialistic deer. Right.
If somebody fails to remember, but though he has practiced, like Krishna tells
Yeah, but that is about the person who is really Krishna conscious. But here Bharat Maharaj did some mistake. He cultivated forgetfulness of Krishna practically at the time of at the last day of his life. That's why he couldn't go to Krishna directly. He had to take another birth. 2 births he had to take. But somebody who has been sincerely practicing Krishna consciousness, but somehow he couldn't remember. Why? Because he might have died in sleep or like kapha vata pitta because of terrible bodily conditions, or suddenly accidentally died. So then what? Then Krishna will still consider that. But Bharat Maharaj may एक step down it is because he cultivated forgetfulness of the Lord. He purposefully neglected his sadhana. He gave too much attention to deer. So like that. So deer became too dear. That's what happens to everyone in this world. Like somebody becomes more dear than the dearest one, that is Krishna. So that's what Bharat Maharaj did, and that's why he had to take another birth. So yes, so his spiritual activities were still not lost. So he was self-realized deer, like that. So in this way, generally, the thoughts which we accumulate throughout our life, they influence us at the time of death, like that, and that creates our next life. So Prabhupada is writing, in this present life, if one cultivates the mode of goodness and always remember Krishna, then it is quite possible that you will remember Krishna at the time of death. And if one does not remember Krishna in this life, then at the time of death, it is very difficult to remember Krishna. And if one remembers Krishna, one will go back to body also. So whatever one's nature is saturated with, sadhata bhava bhavitaha, that one attains without fail. So this is such an important science, and nobody is teaching this science. There are so many big educational institutes, but where is the education about life? They are teaching only education of matter. But is there any education of life? Who is teaching education of life? Who is teaching that how the science of getting the next body, the science of transmigration? Who is teaching? Nobody is teaching this. They only teach how to operate machines. They only teach how to fight in the court. Yeah. Hare Krishna. You are able to hear now? Hare Krishna. Yeah. So that's how it is stating the general law at the time of death, and it is a very critical moment. So, what is the process of changing one's nature? Because based on one's nature, one will remember, one's remembrance will be cultivated. So, what is the process of changing one's nature? So, Prabhupada expressed the best process of changing one's nature is chanting Hare Krishna. So, by chanting Hare Krishna, one develops transcendental absorption in Krishna, and by that, that critical moment of the time of death, then one will be able to remember Krishna also. So, and in this way, it assures next body to be spiritual. You see how Madhavendra Puri, whole life he was so Krishna conscious. That's why at the time of death also, he was always constantly thinking of Krishna. Or Prabhupada also. Bhagavatam, he was saying Bhagavatam purports, even at the time of death. Right? He was speaking. Bhaktisara Thakur gave such divine instructions at the time of death. So they are preaching even at the even up to the point of death. So, so that's why we have to practice that remembrance, in our life. Not that we just say that ठीक है मृत्यु के समय देख लेंगे, नहीं तब देखने के लिए टाइम नहीं रहता. That is not in your hands. None of that. The critical moments are not in our hands. We have to practice it now and in our life now. It is not we cannot postpone it, because first of all, death can come at any time, right? Nobody can say that I'm going to live up to 90, 100 years. Then when we will cultivate it? Without practice, there is no remembrance at the time of death. So, and there is no assurity when the death is going to come. So that means the time for remembering Krishna is now. Practicing that remembrance of Krishna is now. So that's why it is very essential for, as a devotee, for us to, consciously make that practice in our day-to-day life. That we should learn to remember Krishna. At least when we are doing directly spiritual activities, first of all, beginning with that, we should try to remember Krishna. Like while chanting, while deity worship, at least by that time, at least we should try to cultivate remembrance of Krishna. Then next one comes indirect activities. Pehle direct activities karna chahiye. When you are Bhagavatam or hearing class or worshipping deities or doing any seva for the Lord. So pehle be Krishna conscious first while practicing Krishna conscious activities. Then eventually it will also overflow to those when we are doing indirect activity also. Like when we are doing job or something, then also we will do. And Brajvasis had perfected this art, even though they were doing a lot of household affairs, even though they were churning butter or working in the fields, but they used to always chant holy names and they used to always remember Krishna's pastimes. That's what Brajvasis did, and that's why there was no doubt that they would go to spiritual world. So one has to practice that remember during one's life, So it's very important. So and Prabhupada refuted this, saying that thinking anything will give the same result. Prabhupada solidly objects on this. It's not that you can think whatever you like. This is again one of the concepts of Maya. You can think whatever you like. Many times Mayavadis, people go to Mayavadis and ask, what should I think about? He said, you can think whatever you like. Yeah, all paths lead to same goal. It's not like that. So Krishna is not approving this. He's saying whatever you think you'll get at the time of death. So there are some more nice slides Raja has given further. So I would like to share them with you. Yeah. So remembering Krishna at the time of death. This is fifth one.
Narayan! Narayan! Oh, Narayan!
Seriously. How?
Stop! Leave this man alone.
Who are you that dares to challenge us? For we are the Yamadutas.
So Ajamil, because he remembered Narayan at the time of death, he was saved. Right? Otherwise, he could not have been saved.
कौसल्या सुप्रजा रामपूर्वा सन्ध्या प्रवर्तते उत्तिष्ठ नरशार्दूल कर्तव्यं दैवमान्धिकम् कौसल्या सुप्रजा रामपूर्वा सन्ध्या प्रवर्तते उत्तिष्ठ नरशार्दूल कर्तव्यं दैवमान्धिकम् उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ गोविन्द उत्तिष्ठ गरुडध्वज उत्तिष्ठ कमलाकान्ता त्रैलोक्यं मङ्गलं कुरु उत्तिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ गोविन्द उत्तिष्ठ गरुडध्वज उत्तिष्ठ कमलाकान्ता त्रैलोक्यं मङ्गलं कुरु मातः समस्तजगतां मधुकैटभारे वक्षो विहारिणि मनोहर दिव्यमूर्ते श्रीस्वामिनि श्रुतजनप्रियदानशीले श्रीवेङ्कटेश दयिते तव सुप्रभातम् मातः समस्तजगत.
Yeah. So on what basis the soul is awarded the next body ultimately? This is our coming back book. Right. So एक दरवाजे से बाहर जा रहे, दूसरे दरवाजे से अंदर आ रहे. So yam yam vapi smaran bhavam sajatyante kaleva. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that's the related. So we accept our body. Acha, I think it is not audible. Consciousness. What I speak is also audible, no? Both. So we accept our body based next body depending on two things. One is what we desire and what we deserve. What we desire is our karma. What we desire is our desires. Based on our desires. So mind is basically storehouse thoughts, desires, and experiences. So that's why Krishna is referring to the state of mind at the time of death. Remembrance is in the mind. Mind is a very crucial part of our body actually. It's very, very crucial. Mind is like, you can say it's like the hard disk. Of course, hard disk also. Depending on the mind, actually all our future things happen. That's why for a devotee or any transcendentalist, he has to be very, very conscious of his mind, and he has to discipline his mind, he has to tame his mind, he has to train his mind very, very consciously, because mind plays a very, very important role. So desire stored in our mind, and then karma also, whatever karma is there in our account, right? Like one person, when he was dying, so he was pleading to doctors, please increase my duration by 4 years at least in Calcutta. But doctor said, what 4 years? 4 minutes also we cannot increase. It's all in Lord's hand. Another person, he was dying, and then when he was dying, so he saw his son he said, "Beta, bade bete, tum aa gaye?" He said, "Yes, Pitaji, aa gaya." And then he saw second son also. "अरे तुम भी आ गए?" "हाँ पिताजी मैं आ गया." सब रो रहे थे. तीसरा आ गया. "अरे तुम भी आ गए?" So all were thinking that he's getting emotional by seeing them. And then he said, "अरे फिर फैक्ट्री में कौन है?" "सर इधर ये तो फैक्ट्री में कौन है?" And he quit his body. So now we don't know. So now because he was conscious of factory at the time of death, that means what? He will have something to do with that factory in his next life. Now if he is a very pious person throughout life, then he will be human being and may take birth in the same family, and he will become owner of the factory in future. But if he has not been that pious, then he may become rat, as we are predicting already. That he will become rat, cockroach, or anything in that fact. Right? So both the things, what we desire and what we deserve.
In Ajamil's case, Bhava was there.
Ajamil remembered Krishna. You see, these are different incidences of death, I think so. Death can come at any time, in any way. Where will they go after leaving this body? What is the deciding factor? You see, this first girl, she's speaking something, just see. Just fell off. She's a reporter, I think, no? She just fell off, and young girl. Yeah, but this is young girl. Just see how she's falling off directly and dying. And second one, you see that fellow? Car accident. You see, my God, that bike. Directly. Kuch hai nahi, but. And then third one. What happened? That tree fell off. I think. Yes. Tree fell off on that person. You see, my God, how the tree fell off on that person. Then here this person is spokesperson somewhere. Is giving some speech and is just dying. Right? And this fellow is in what? Bank. Cash counter. And he just fell off. My God. And you see that last row now. That old man, he's also a politician, it seems. Smiling. Just see he's smiling. My God, very powerful, no? Kya video liya hai wo kaise liya? Person, how they knew that this fellow was going to die?
They might be recording CCTV.
This is too much, you know. You see that person is smiling and suddenly everything changes. And that last picture is of the tire coming and hitting him, no? Baapre. And he just knocked down. And what is middle? City headline news?
Two women are walking and they could talk and that neighbor one is still walking. She didn't realize later on she sees.
My God.
अभी वो बाजू में देखते हैं.
So death can come at any time, in any way, isn't it? So, but this is a destination. If one is very lusty, at the time of death, you'll get the body of dog. One is very lazy, you'll get polar bear. Very envious, becomes snake. He's exposing the body, becomes tree. What is that?
Eating meat. Tiger.
Eating meat is lion. No, but what is that near the tree? Krishna. These are our standard pictures. He's cutting meat, he'll become tiger, and his material nature says, "Oh, why? If you want to cut the meat so much, why do you do in human form? It's not very suitable. Your intestines don't support you, and you don't have such strong acidic juice, right? So then, better you take tiger's body." This Mataji, she is sleeping, so she is becoming bear, right? And then Bharat Maharaj became deer also. So this hearing also is a very important thing, because again, generally we become conscious of what we hear. Prabhupada speaks a lot about chanting in the purport, but chanting is also depending on hearing. And whatever we hear a lot, that also becomes our consciousness generally. If we all the time hear about elections, then our thoughts wander over elections, right?
Yeah, about distribution dream quotes.
Yeah, if you hear about book distribution, then consciousness will become a book distribution. So that's why hearing is another very important aspect. So if one engages into the service of the Lord all the time and hearing about the Lord, chanting the Lord, then he will go to spiritual world and he will enjoy with Krishna. You see how wonderfully these boys, cowherd boys, are enjoying with Krishna in the spiritual world, right? And these deers are also there. So Bharat Maharaj could also have become deer in spiritual world. He would have been like this one. But then he became a deer in material world only. Right? So these are also deers. You see how, but they are so much absorbed in Krishna. Yeah. Is the mind part of subtle body? Yes. Yes. Mind is the part of subtle body. Okay. So these two verses are so important. That's why. And the whole world is totally unaware of this science. It's very, very dangerous position people are putting themselves in. Generally, what they say we don't care, but whether you care or not, the laws of nature are surely going to apply. And one will have to reap the results of one's actions and consciousness. That is a fact. That's why it is very important. As devotees, we have got this knowledge, so we should take full benefit of this knowledge and try to cultivate the proper remembrance of the Lord at the time of death, and that will actually save us. So it's a very important, and that will not going to come automatically, as Prabhupada was stating. If we are impure, we cannot remember Krishna automatically. So that's why we have to practice it. Practice it means we have to consciously do it. It's not that we just think that automatically it will happen. Like that. Okay, so we can stop for today. Although we covered 2 verses only today, but these 2 are such important verses for our life. Very, very important verses. So there is no problem even if we couldn't cover much. Okay, Haripur.
Really one question. This is just small observation. Once even in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, wherever regarding Smaran or something is asked, they first of all go like maybe little like personal way, like sometimes Vishnu or something, and then they come like in second canto also they explain little about Vishnu, explaining various parts, and then later Shuddha Goswami mentions about chanting the some one verse comes. So I just read out the verse. First, one chapter I read out the translation, then I go like further. So why is that way? That approach taken? Because to make it considerable.
That's what I told. That those who are impersonalist, they cannot conceive only the form of the Lord to be transcendent. So they are slowly brought to the real form of the Lord. And those who are atheists, they consider also the form of the Lord to be material. So Maya Shritanam Niradharake. So That's why uh, it's for it's to elevate the consciousness of a person gradually. That's the purpose.
So generally now current mass is atheistic.
Yeah, that's why we have to use science.
Telling about law of nature.
Creator, creation and creator, lawmaker, law, device. That's why device. Yeah. So that's why Prabhupada gives so much importance to scientific preaching. So much. Prabhupada spent hours and hours with Bhakti Swarupa Maharaj and Sadaputra, Madhav Prabhu. So much time spent. Why? Because whole world currently is enamored by science. So through science only we have to prove them that because the God is, the God is the main principle behind all the phenomena of this material world. So people are materialistic, so we have to, through material science only, we have to prove them that how God is the main principle behind material phenomenon, everything. Then they will understand and then they can answer. That's why Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj wrote a book, Scientific Basics of Krishna Consciousness. It became very, very famous in those days in the scientific circles. Scientific language he explains. Very nice. Have you read that book? Anyone? Yeah.
Sabit Canon.
Huh?
Series of books in Sabit Canon.
That is also there. So through various angles, we have to prove to the people. If you are demigod worshipper, we have to show them how Krishna is the source of all demigods. Like 7th chapter 21 to 23, we had so much discussion on that. That even the Krishna is the source of all demigods, and all the result coming from demigods are also given by Krishna only actually, right? And it is Krishna who makes the faith of demigod worshippers. So like that. So similarly, somebody who is materialistic, you have to know that unless Lord sanctions, no desires can be fulfilled also. Even material desires cannot be fulfilled. And material prosperity one cannot get unless it is Lord sanctions. Then somebody is impersonalist, you have to show him where are true of the Lord. This is how Lord is personal. Like that. So somewhere or other, this thing. So I was telling so many times that Virat Roop because we want to conceive the transcendental personality or the spiritual personality. They think personality means like you and me only, but they are not able to understand that there is a personality who can be present at every place, in innumerable power, you got innumerable energies that control this entire universe. What is that nature, of that person? So otherwise they'll just reject. They'll say, "Hey, how can God be person? It is not logical." Right? That's why I was telling that light, all pervading, is acceptable. Anybody can very easily. Sunlight is all pervading. Even though sun may be place in the sky. Ekadesho sthitasthagne josna ready tha prasya brahmana shakti. So just like at being one place, sun or any light source, it diffuses throughout the area. Similarly, they say that so. Of course, this is shows personal form of the Lord. Lord being one situated in one place, he can control the universe. But they can understand the lights all pervading. But a person, how can he be all pervading? That is very difficult.
When Maharaj is saying, you pray, Lord is hearing. Hearing is, there is person only can hear. It's to a Muslim. He was asked Muslim question. Maharaj answering this. अब प्रार्थना तो भगवान सुनते हैं सुनने के लिए कहाँ
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Haripol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.